Hello and welcome to Negative Feedback. This week we couldn't manage to film a normal video, so we're going to go ahead and do a Q&A instead. When I've decided on what camera I have my heart settled upon, I pretty much look around a few different places. My first point of call would be real camera shops, such as Ford's, Aperture and Mr. CAD. I'd always prefer to go to somewhere like that would have a warranty and a kind of assured level of confidence. And then I'll try out stuff like Facebook group friends if they happen to have one, or maybe even eBay. A lot of the time, actually no, I don't edit my film scans. I will occasionally crop them and unwonky them if I took them on a slanted angle or something. But this doesn't mean that I have a problem with editing them. It just means that the lab that I'm using scans the images how I want them to be scanned. I don't have a problem with wanting your photos to look in a specific way, and I don't think anyone should be judged for doing that. But at the same time, the adjustments that I would make would be very minor adjustments. I don't really see the point in slapping a massive preset over some film because it kind of defeats some of the purpose. I do think scanning film is always an interpretation of how it should look. A lot of different labs would scan it to a completely different look, so I don't think anyone can really have a problem with altering how they end up. Basically, I found myself always wanting my digital photos to look like film. This probably was sparked from the rise of Instagram and VSCO kind of stuff quite a few years ago. Being the age that I am, I kind of missed film when I was growing up. One day I just decided, why not try and buy something cheap on eBay and try it out? And from that day, I enjoyed it and progressed through different cameras since then, and found that it was way more fun not having to edit your photos and getting the kind of organic look, which is what I wanted it to look like anyway. Taking more time thinking about the images I was taking, which eventually ends up in just taking better photos. It's just basically all been positives for me. Obviously there are the occasional times when you completely mess up a roll, but it's the mistakes you learn the most from, so I think it's been fun. I think probably the Olympus OM10, the Pentax K1000 or the Canon AE1 are all great cameras to get into film photography with. They all kind of have enough control. If you get the OM10 you probably want the manual adapter, but there is really nothing you need more than these cameras. It's more just the lust for something nicer. Definitely yes, there's already more on the horizon. I'm planning something that will launch at the end of this month. Issue 2 of the magazine is in production already, and I'm wanting to start publishing other people's works outside of that in just stuff of their own, but I don't know how that fits in yet and whether it's something that people will be interested in, so let me know if you would be interested in buying photo books that I make but of just other people's work, because I think it would be really great to use this audience to highlight other people's work. I think that'd be really cool. So it was definitely an interesting thing to make because I've never done print stuff before really. And I think the biggest help that we had was the amount of time allowed. We had quite a long time to actually make it, which allowed the time to be actually thinking about things and not rushing any decisions, which really matters when eventually send it to print and you can't make any more changes. And I think something that really helped was having a board of people that you trust where you can send them the work when it's at a kind of mock stage and they can give you advice on what they think you should keep and change, and that allows you to make all those alterations and make it the best thing that it can be. I think I'm going to cover more of this next week on something else that I'm currently making. Those two things definitely helped. I think it's definitely fine art and documentary photography. I wouldn't say it's always what I'm shooting, but it's what I enjoy the most. I don't know, it's just that stuff gets me. I love photo books and exhibitions, and that's the stuff that I'd love to be doing, and I think it's really interesting. But that doesn't mean that I don't like the occasional landscape or portrait. There isn't really anything I don't like, I just don't shoot stuff like still life often. I'm going to go ultra hardcore, and it has to be film stock and type, so I think I'd have to go for medium format Portra 400. As much as I love HP5 as a black and white film, I don't think I can commit myself to just black and white for the rest of my life. I always see myself as wanting to shoot colour, but sometimes I shoot HP5 anyway, I don't know why. I like both, but I think definitely medium format is the best compromise of film real estate, and I mean, who doesn't like portrait? I think the thing that helped me the most was focusing on making sure the person is comfortable and having a good time. If the subject is uncomfortable with the situation, this is mainly with people who aren't professional models. Someone who is just your friend and is not used to having their photo taken is unlikely to really have fun in front of the camera. So I think it's important to make them as relaxed as possible, because you can definitely tell in the photo. One of the tips that I always thought was helpful was, if you're in a studio, get the person to choose the music, because then they'll enjoy it. But generally, just be nice and fun, and the more you do it, the better you get, I guess. I think I'm going to have to go for Joel Sternfeld for this. I had the pleasure of seeing him talk last month. It just kind of blew my mind. His work is incredible. I love everything that he's made pretty much, but American Prospects is just unreal, and the most beautiful book I've ever read. So the next question is kind of long, but I don't feel as if I can paraphrase it easily, so I'm just going to read the whole thing. Posting to Instagram/social media in general feels stagnant in a way. What advice would you give to someone wanting to do more with their photography, i.e. zines, exhibitions, or something completely different? Realistically, at the moment, I think this is a tricky thing to answer, because in order to make things like zines, you have to have an audience that cares about what you're doing and will buy the stuff, otherwise you're just going to end up losing money. And it's kind of the same with an exhibition. If no one comes through the door, it's not really worth what you've gone through to make it happen. And I think personally the best way of being able to get this audience is through social media. You have the power to have anyone across the world look at your stuff. It's much easier than just handing stuff in front of curators. And I think if you do make really good work, eventually people will see it. If it really is good, you will be found through social media. As much as I think this is true, I do genuinely dislike posting to Instagram. It's kind of become a place where I have to post professional stuff, and sometimes I just want to post stuff that I take on my phone that aren't serious. It's tricky, but I do think you would be foolish if you weren't doing it in the current state of what's going on. At the moment, I don't feel like I've got something that I'm purposefully trying to avoid, but maybe that's because I've become lazy in searching for it, I don't know. But definitely about a year ago I decided that I was going to stop taking pictures at a low aperture, to kind of stop taking those really blurry background photos. I don't have a problem with it for other people's photography. It's not that I hate. I thought there'd be more skill in composing an image where the whole frame is in focus than if you just blur out the background. If you've just got one subject, it's much easier to place them in the middle and just blur everything else out. If you have to worry about the tree behind the head and etc, etc. It's like, I just thought that would be something important to learn about composition, and I think that really helped me. So I stuck to f8 and above for quite a long time, and it's something that I still do now. I think it's a good thing to learn. I wouldn't say everyone has to do it, and I wouldn't say I don't like your photos or think you're a good photographer if you shoot at low apertures. It's just a personal choice. Definitely Somewhere to Disappear by Alex Soth. I watched this recently after putting out a tweet of what photography things to watch, and it was just incredible to see how he works. I already admired him so much as a photographer, and his work process is incredible. I felt very inspired to shoot stuff after watching that. Do you ever feel like sometimes people use film as a crutch? More of, this is a good photo because it's taken on film, than this is a good photo that happens to be taken on film. I definitely feel this. I especially kind of feel that I've become sort of pigeonholed by being the guy that likes film photography now, that if I was to post a digital photo on my Instagram, maybe people wouldn't like it as much. I kind of feel like if I ever said that I shoot digital, maybe people wouldn't like it. I don't actually own a digital camera, but that's just how I feel. It would stop me from buying one now. And to be honest, I really don't care what you took your photo on. I just care if it's a good photo or not, and I think that's what everything should be judged upon. Obviously I do love film photography and the process of making images, so that is also important to me, but I think everyone should judge on the photo first before looking at the process. So I've been through quite a few different methods of metering, and the one that I kind of settled with in the end is setting my camera to 1 stop overexposed by moving the ISO down 1 stop. So if I'm shooting a 400 speed film, I'll set my aperture in camera to 200 and then just shoot as normal. If it's a complex scene, I always lean towards the shadows, but I find if you're already overexposing, it's really hard to end up actually underexposing your image because you already have that kind of safety buffer of the overexposure. Well, I hope this was enjoyable for you. Hopefully we'll have a normal video back next week. So I thought, as a thank you for everything recently, we could give away a few copies of issue 1 of the magazine. So just comment something below and I'll get all the comments and go through them and randomly pick about 5 people and contact you and send you a free copy. Thank you and goodbye.